So you guys let me know if you guys want some nebula. Okay, I'm willing to risk it. I'm willing to see if I'm gonna take a hit to the channel if I do post some of real life lores. He has the series on Nebula, which is a different platform, where he has the Modern Conflict series. I don't know if any of you guys know about that. I'm pretty sure he's probably talked about it on here before when he's plugged his the Nebula thing, because that's where I have Nebula from this guy because of the Curiosity Stream bundle. I'm not gonna make this a long intro. I've talked already too much about my videos today. I really want to talk less, but the whole point of the reaction is I need to be able to give you something. I need to give you me, right? It could be like I don't know if sometimes it's a critique of the video. Sometimes it's like I'm giving you my thoughts, my opinions. Also try to give you some sort of value from knowledge that I have, that I do believe to be true. I'm not necessarily sourcing everything that I say, you know. Neither does Jordan Peterson. Okay, motherfucker, he's not sourcing his shit, but you already know he's brilliant. That's not to say I probably shouldn't use that because I'm not no Jordan B. Peterson, but if he can do it without needing to be sourced, okay, yeah, you know what? That's not really gonna help me because I am not at that level. So people might be. It might be fair that people require a source, but what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to give you value. With knowledge that I do believe to be worth the shit, right? Real life lore though, up to 6 million subs. I just seen the comment section. There. This video is about what is hidden underneath the ice of Greenland. This is actually the inaugural video from Real Life Lore here on the channel. Make some amazing content. And without further ado, man, enough talking. Like, let's go. Let's react. And that's the reason I talk a lot, is because a lot of these videos, they're not necessarily comedy videos, not necessarily, Sniper Wolf, reacting to... what do they react to, really? But they make bank. I don't know what the fuck they be. They try not to laugh a lot of the times. And some other shit, videos that are more shocking. With this is, educational. It's informational. It's good content. You're learning something. So let's learn together, right? I should probably say that before I start every video, is let's learn together. And that's the whole point of it, right? Is to be able to be like, okay, well, I'm not necessarily just watching this video alone. I'm possibly watching this with somebody. And if that's the case, I need to pause it less, because I also don't want to be annoying to you, right? Like, let's watch the video together, but let me not annoy you by being that motherfucker that pauses the video all the time. And that's something that I definitely need to work on. And let's go.
This is Greenland, the largest, most fascinating, and most mysterious...
By the way, you're such a fucking liar, Greenland. My god, this guy's the biggest phony. You see how big this motherfucker looks on the map? You ever been to the true size of? Speaking of which, let's actually go to it right now. Not necessarily fucking living up to what I was saying there, but let's see Greenland, right? You see Greenland here on the map? Let me show you. People have made multiple videos on this, but I always find it funny to do this because look how big Greenland looks when it's up here, right? Like, you see it right here on the video here. It looks pretty big, right? It looks like a huge island. It looks like it's bigger than Canada, right? In terms of like length, it looks like it's bigger than Canada. It's about as big as Canada and the U.S. from top to bottom. It would look, right? It looks huge, but then if you place it over, well, you'll see that it's not really that big. I think, well, obviously some of these islands are still Canada, so it's not even as tall as Canada, I think. Tall. The United States, you put it right here, you put it next to Mexico. About the same size. Maybe even smaller than Mexico. You put it here in Africa, you can see the true size, right? Like, you put it here near the equator, well, that's how big Greenland is. Definitely still big. It's still something worth... it's a big island. It's the biggest island. But, I think... But it's like... It's not this. Okay, you're a phony, Greenland. Okay, no more pausing. Let's go.
Mysterious island in the world. It is more than 3 times larger than France, and has remained a part of the Kingdom of Denmark for more than 300 years now, which theoretically makes Denmark a transcontinental country, the world's 12th largest country by land area, and the largest country with a capital in Europe other than Russia. When placed over the European continent, Greenland's vast size becomes significantly more apparent, covering nearly everything from Portugal to Poland. But
okay, that is pretty big, though. Maybe I did underestimate it a little too much. But yo, Greenland is in North America?
Despite all of this vast size,
yeah.
the population on the world's
That makes
largest
sense.
island is only around 56,000 people,
Damn.
which is even less than the population of Andorra, a tiny microstate wedged in between Spain and France. And
That's
nearly
a
1 in
very
3 of those
sparsely populated
56,000
country.
Greenlanders all live in just a single town right here, called Nuuk, the capital
That's the
of
capital.
the island.
I do
And
know
of
that.
course, the biggest reason why there are so few people on this massive landmass
It's because it's uninhabitable. There's too much fucking snow. I mean, you don't even need to tell anybody. We don't really need to hear the answer to that question. We already know. Do you see this environment here? Do you see these pictures right here? This imagery? This top drone imagery? You ever wonder why some of it is never on the ground? Why none of these pictures are really on the ground of Greenland? Because nobody goes there. Because you can't go there. It's inhospitable, as they say. Inhospitable. Can't really go there.
is because the vast majority of it is, at least for the moment, completely
Covered
uninhabitable.
in snow
2/3 of
and
the
ice.
island stretches high up into the north beyond the circumference of the Arctic Circle, a region of the planet that receives significantly less intense solar radiation than elsewhere because the sun's rays have to travel a longer distance.
Wait, so that motherfuckers is not getting cancer up there.
Through the atmosphere in order to
let's
reach
just
it,
get that
which
straight.
means that solar radiation is less concentrated and spread out across a much larger surface area than around a location like the equator, where the distance that the rays have to travel through the atmosphere is a lot less. Basically, that all just means that this part of the planet is a lot colder than average. But due to the influence of the Gulf Stream, the warm ocean
Would
current
that be true? Would it take longer? Because look at this imagery here. The Earth is like standing straight. Oh no, it's a little curved. No, I'm tripping. It is a little curved. I thought they weren't accounting for the tilt.
Basically, that all just means that this part of the planet is a lot colder than average. But due to the influence of the Gulf Stream, the warm ocean current that flows northwards from the Gulf of Mexico and across the North Atlantic towards Europe, a great deal of Greenland has a lot more mild weather than you might expect for its latitude up here. The average winter temperature in the capital and biggest city, Nuuk, is still -9 degrees Celsius. The town of Iqaluit in Nunavut, Canada, is at an approximately similar latitude, but because of its distance
God damn. 16 degrees Fahrenheit? I mean, that's actually not too bad.
away
Wait, is that bad? 16 degrees Fahrenheit. That's not too bad.
from the warming effects of the Gulf Stream, the average winter temperatures here are more like -27 degrees Celsius, and it's therefore significantly colder than Nuuk on average. However, the biggest and most mysterious thing to understand about the island of Greenland
What
is
is
its
it?
absolutely colossal ice sheet, and the unknown
Yeah, that
wonders and
is a lot of
discoveries
ice.
that are hiding just beneath it out of our sight. One of the many natural wonders of our world, this ancient ice sheet covers approximately 80% of the surface of Greenland and
Yeah, but there's also the Antarctic one. So what's hiding in Antarctica, huh? That's a good question.
is around the same size of Alaska. This makes it the second largest body of ice that can be found anywhere in the world, after the ice sheet over on the opposite side of the planet.
What? Alaska's like the U.S.'s biggest state. Jesus Christ.
On Antarctica. On Greenland, this huge sheet of ice is on average 1.5 kilometers thick, while in some places it can reach up to 3 kilometers thick of nothing but solid ice built up over eons of time. In total, there are some 2,850,000 cubic kilometers worth of frozen ice on Greenland that
a lot
weighs
of ice.
approximately 2.85 quadrillion metric tons.
Okay,
A truly
who's calculating that, bro? Come on, bro. Who's calculating that?
unfathomable amount of mass for us to comprehend. The sheer weight of all that ice on the surface is so tremendous that it has pushed much of the underlying bedrock in the interior of the island to be beneath the sea level. But since many mountains occur on the island around the periphery, the ice sheet is largely confined in a geographic shape that would most resemble a gigantic bowl. The coasts of the island are therefore largely free of this ice sheet and its devastatingly colder temperatures. And that's naturally why, for thousands of years now, human activity has pretty much been limited only to the coastlines. Ice cores drilled out from the sheet by scientists have revealed that an ice sheet in some form or another has covered significant parts of Greenland for at least the past last 18 million years.
God damn.
While the oldest ice on the island today is as much as 1 million years old. So, for pretty much the entirety of human history, the vast majority of this island has been sealed
How
beneath.
can ice that almost like seems to defy some shit to me. On Earth, ice can stay ice for over 1 million years, for 18 million years. But he said the oldest ice is 1 million. So what's the difference there? So, I mean, they know it's been covered in ice for 18 million, but the oldest ice is 1. What am I not getting there? Like, does the ice have? Is that like ice melts and then it becomes ice again? Or what am I not getting there? 1 million, but I thought you. Maybe I'm just being stupid. I don't know. Let me just.
This impenetrable wall of ice, and the secrets locked beneath it have only just recently been able to be accessed.
My God.
This is Webflow. Meet the design tool from the future. The most powerful
What time
visual.
are we on? I heard that
For
if
example,
I go to the end and I come back, maybe I'll be able to.
Together
Oh,
with
that's
Sigmund
not helping me out.
Freud.
That's not helping me out.
This is Greenland, the entirety of human history. The vast majority of this island has been sealed beneath this impenetrable wall of ice, and the secrets locked beneath it have only just recently been able to be accessed. For example, ice cores drilled out from the sheet by scientists back in 1966 revealed the presence of sediments that suggested Greenland was once nearly completely ice-free and vegetated at least once in the past million years, which came as a huge shock.
Wait, but like, so it's been. So there was a point in the last million years where there was no ice on Greenland? That's actually kind of fucking crazy.
Geologically speaking, that's fairly recent in time, and it suggests that the island is significantly more fragile and vulnerable to climate change than almost anybody initially thought. Today, only a single small forested area on Greenland remains in the very far south of the island, right here in the Tsinghua Valley. In this location, the summer temperatures are just barely high enough to sustain trees, and there are big 1,500-meter-high mountains that surround it on nearly all sides, which serve to protect it from the cold and fast winds that whip across the ice sheet just a bit further to the north. But other than this little 15-kilometer-long pocket of trees and forests, the rest is nothing but ice, rocks, shrubs, and scattered pockets of human and animal life. In the future, however, this tiny pocket of natural life in the south may become the genesis point for life spreading across the rest of the island, because the massive ice sheet that covers most of it, for better and for worse, is currently in the process of melting. Researchers from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory already reported a long time ago, back in 2006, that the ice sheet and glaciers on Greenland were melting at a rate of about 217 cubic kilometers a year, which was about twice as fast as they were melting just 5 years before then, in 2001. And as the climate around the world continues to grow warmer, nowhere is being more heavily affected than the Arctic, where the temperatures are rising at about twice the rate of the global average, with 2/3 of the island stretching above the Arctic Circle, and with a projected 3 to 9 degrees Celsius increase in local average temperatures. The Greenland ice sheet is significantly more vulnerable than other locations are to these warming effects. At the present, it's been estimated that the island is losing approximately 200 billion metric tons of ice per year to the ocean, and research has shown that this could end up accelerating the global sea level's rise by around 30 centimeters by the end of this century.
What? 200 billion? What? What the fuck is a metric ton? 200 billion metric tons? What kind of fucking... What system are we using there? What's a metric ton?
This pace of melting continues steadily or increases with current trends. The entire 2,850,000 cubic kilometers worth of ice on the island could all melt completely within just a few centuries worth of time. A blink of an eye in geological time that usually spans millions of years. If this ends up coming to pass, the Greenland ice sheet will contribute a volume of water to to the world's oceans that is
Oh,
even
God.
greater than the entirety of the Gulf of Mexico, resulting in a catastrophic global sea level rise of approximately 7 meters. This would consequently flood nearly every major coastal city that exists in the world today, and would profoundly change the entire planet's geography. Much of Florida and southern Louisiana would be buried beneath the sea, including major cities like Miami and New Orleans.
Excuse me, 7 meters? 21 feet? More than that, actually? Oh my god.
The San Francisco
You're in
Bay
trouble.
would expand dramatically to flood much of the California Central Valley, including cities like Sacramento and Stockton. A good portion of the Bahamas would be entirely submerged. A significant chunk of the low-lying areas of northwestern Europe, like the Netherlands, Belgium,
done.
and northwestern Germany, would be dramatically flooded, along with significant areas of the Po Valley in Italy, including Venice, and the low-lying Nile Delta in Egypt, including Egypt's second-largest city, Alexandria. A great deal of southern Iraq would be submerged, along with a majority of
Christ, that's a lot of
Bangladesh and a good deal
my
of
God,
West
Bangladesh.
Bengal in India. Some of the most
Dude, there's like 500 million people living there, bro. There's no, I sized it, but like, there's a lot of people living there in a very tight area. Holy fuck.
heavily populated places in the world. A great deal of the lower Mekong Delta within Vietnam, including Ho Chi Minh City, would also be totally flooded, along with substantial low-lying areas of eastern China, including major global cities like Shanghai and Tianjin.
Oh, China's not allowing
When an issue
that.
pops up, every minute
Shanghai?
spent searching for answers is extra toil bringing.
You kidding me?
In
They're not
short,
allowing
were
that.
the Greenland ice sheet to completely melt over the span of a few centuries' time, it would gradually flood the homes of hundreds of millions of people worldwide today and prove absolutely catastrophic to modern human society. And with such a massive volume of fresh water being suddenly added to the salty ocean around it, it could also prove to dramatically disrupt the circulation pattern of the Gulf Stream that currently brings warmth over to Europe and so, almost paradoxically, turn Europe into a colder continent than it is today. But at the same time, the removal of all that ice on Greenland would finally reveal all of the land of one of Earth's greatest landmasses to humans for the first time in history, and all the
Oh,
secrets that have been hiding beneath it.
Is that
But
worth it,
luckily for
though?
us, we may not have to wait centuries to learn about most of these secrets, and many of them have already been discovered. In 1942, during the Second World War, an American Lockheed P-38 Lightning had to make an emergency landing on the island. The crew was rescued, but the plane was left behind where it landed and became lost to time. Half a century later, in 1992, after years of searching for it, a team finally rediscovered the long-lost airplane that was by then buried
50 years?
beneath 268 feet of ice from the past 50 years of
Excuse me? They didn't. There's no way they dug 268 feet of ice. There's no way they dug. There's no way.
cumulative snowfall. The plane was later restored and even returned back to flying condition and took to the skies once again after being buried for the previous half a century, hidden beneath the ice of Greenland. It would
That's
ultimately
insane.
end up becoming only one of many American artifacts lost to the ice here for some time. In 1968, an American bomber carrying 4 thermonuclear bombs caught
I'm
fire.
not gonna hold you. It's just a plane. Who's digging 268 feet for that, bro? What?
Midair and crashed on Greenland around here. An extensive cleanup operation was subsequently carried out by both the United States and Denmark, and nearly all of the parts coming from the plane and the nuclear weapons were discovered, except for one puzzling and potentially troubling piece: the secondary stage cylinder from one of the nuclear bombs, carrying uranium and lithium deuteride. Essentially the piece that carries the nuclear fuel for one of the bombs. A pretty small component, no larger than a beer keg. This component was never discovered by the cleanup operation, and likely remains buried and hidden beneath hundreds of feet of ice somewhere around that area to this day. And then, just a decade ago in 2013, a team of scientists made one of the most amazing discoveries beneath the ice of Greenland ever made so far. Using ice-penetrating radar data collected from NASA-owned satellites, they discovered that the Greenland ice sheet was hiding beneath it the longest canyon found anywhere in the world. Now described as a mega canyon, the so-called Greenland Grand Canyon stretches for more than 750 kilometers across the island, which is more than 300 kilometers longer than even the Grand Canyon in Arizona. It stretches up to 10 kilometers wide and carves up to 800 meters deep to just beneath sea level. And it's believed to be a tremendously ancient geographic feature of the island because it was most likely carved out by a mighty ancient river system of the very distant past, and not by any of the ice or glaciers of the past several million years that have kept its presence a very well-hidden secret now for millennia. Were the ice sheet to be removed, this canyon could prove to be one of the greatest and most glorious.
Dog, you know somebody's gonna try to fucking make money off that shit, bro. They're like, yo, fuck all them cities going underneath. Let me melt all this ice. And let me, like, make this... let me privatize this. Let me make people... Let's make this a popular tourist destination. That's what it is. Not privatizing it. You just make it a popular tourist destination for people to come to Greenland. For them to visit the ultimate Grand Canyon. I mean, you know how many motherfuckers go to the Grand Canyon every year in the U.S.? That's a lot of people. My fucking English teacher went last year. Like, she had just went. And, bro... How do motherfuckers go to the Grand Canyon, bro? That would actually be insane to fucking see, though. If it's an actual canyon, bro, that'd be insane to fucking see.
Of Earth's natural...
Yeah, I mean, if shit, we don't change nothing, then, I mean, someday, we probably won't be alive to see it, but somebody's probably gonna see it someday, right? Because, I mean, it seems like this shit's probably just gonna melt all the way. I mean, are we really stopping it? I don't know. I don't know, man.
Wonders to behold. But since a great deal of it is presently beneath sea level, it would also likely end up being flooded with water after the ice sheet melts. And when the ice sheet melts in the future, much of the interior of Greenland that has been pushed beneath sea level by the weight of the ice for eons now could end up transforming into a vast interior lake or sea that could potentially serve to even further accelerate the island's warming process. But at the same time, with the massive weight of the ice being removed, the island would also steadily begin a process known as isostatic rebound, where the land would gradually, over a span of decades and centuries, literally rebound back above sea level in elevation, finally free of the crushing weight that had lasted there for millions of years. And so, in reality, Greenland's future geography in a few hundred years from now is basically anybody's best guess. But without a doubt, the most important things hiding beneath the 3 kilometers of ice on Greenland today are the resources and raw materials, and specifically, hydrocarbons and rare earth elements and minerals.
Oh, yeah. Fucking rare earth elements and minerals? Sheesh. Motherfuckers gonna have the mining companies are gonna have a blast with that one. The fuck? I can move the shits around? I can move this? I did not know that. Well, speaking of, do I want to follow in this? Yo, what? Motherfuckers are going in the ice in that thing? Where is this? Explorers Wanted? Dog. Yo, y'all might need to get me out there. I'm just saying. I might be down.
This is an iPhone 11 Pro from Back Market. They specialize in refurbished devices that feel like new at secondhand pricing. Now, at Back Market, you can choose devices at different price points depending on their grade.
Oh, please. Fair. Come on, dog. Getting a fair iPhone. Get the fuck out of here.
The United States Geological Survey has estimated before that they believe there are a total of 141 billion barrels of hydrocarbons, accounting for roughly 13% of all the planet's undiscovered oil and 30% of all of its undiscovered natural gas sitting untapped just beneath the surface of Greenland. If these resource estimates are accurate and were ever to be realized,
That's no way that's accurate, bro. Come on. That's not even surprising, because there's always some shit hiding beneath some ice somewhere. A stamp, there always is. But it's like, ain't that shit... Isn't the Democratic Republic of the Congo sitting on like $10 trillion worth of fucking resources? It's like insane. But also, like, what? Why is there so much? Why would there happen to just be so much gas there? You know, some motherfucker's gonna like go down there. Some motherfucker has probably set up an operation already. Right? They just like, man, fuck the ice. We just gonna drill all the way down through it. Like, somebody's probably out there beginning operations. I wouldn't doubt it. Motherfuckers is greedy as shit. Like, they probably didn't even get no licensing. The motherfuckers don't even know they're there. And they probably have some operation going down.
Greenland would suddenly end up having about as much oil and natural gas as Iraq, and would have the 5th or 6th largest amount of hydrocarbon reserves of any country in the world. Since Greenland continues to remain a territorial possession of Denmark, a European Union and NATO member state, these reserves could theoretically help to dramatically increase Europe's energy independence from other nations like Russia or Iran. But beyond oil and gas, the more interesting resources hidden beneath Greenland are likely to be rare earth elements and minerals. These are resources that take up this section of the periodic table of elements that you've probably forgotten since high school chemistry class. But the big thing to understand is that these resources are vital to powering the technologies of our modern world, from everything to smartphones, electric cars, MRI machines, fighter jets, and dozens upon dozens of other critically important applications. Once upon a time, it was the United States who was the largest producer of these rare earths. But that's no longer the case at all. Today, these are resources that are almost monopolistically dominated by China, as they currently provide more than 85% of the world's supply, and are home to around 2/3 of the global supply of many rare metals and minerals, like antimony.
It's not impressive. You have over 1 billion and 100 million on top of that people than we do. You have over 1.1 billion people. More than we do. Okay? Let's not get it twisted, China. Y'all ain't really that impressive. Y'all just have too many people. Okay? Y'all are sitting at an insane advantage. I'm just saying.
Antimony and barite. America, Europe, and other Western nations have largely no other choice but to import huge amounts of these rare earth elements and minerals directly from China, which is generally considered to be the greatest geopolitical opponent of the United States in the 21st century. But the warming of Greenland and the melting of the ice sheet is completely changing this entire calculus, because it's now generally believed that Greenland is home to the second highest amount of rare earths after China. Of sudden and particular strategic importance is the previously overlooked and remote, tiny town of Narsak on the south coast of the island, home to only around 1,700 people. This is potentially the most strategically important small town of under a couple thousand people found anywhere in the world today, because the scraggly and rocky hills that surround it are now estimated to contain roughly an entire quarter of the Earth's supply of rare earth minerals. A single mineral deposit site within these hills, known as Kvanefjeld, has been claimed to be the world's second largest deposit of rare earth oxides at around 11 million tons, and the 6th largest deposit of uranium yet to be discovered at around 270,000 tons. If these estimates are correct, it means that this single site within Greenland is the largest concentration.
Yeah, Denmark's making bread, bro. Denmark is so fucking smart for having caught this one, bro. They're smart as fuck for having caught this shit, bro. Like they were secured the bag. I'm just saying, they secured the bag. If they don't go underwater by the melting of all the ice of said bag.
concentration of rare earths found anywhere outside of China, and it places the island as 4th in the world for numbers of rare earth reserves, and roughly equivalent to Russia. It would also mean that this site's uranium reserves alone are roughly equivalent to the entirety of China's known reserves, and ranks Greenland as 9th in the entirety of China's known reserves, and ranks Greenland as 9th in the world for known reserves of uranium. And that's all coming from just a single deposit. Based on these assumptions, mining companies—
Wait. Single deposit, 9th in the world of uranium? Bro, they're sitting on a fucking gold mine.
billionaires and empires from around the world have been eyeballing the tiny villages of Greenland now for years. And the subject within Greenland—
Motherfuckers is already there, I'm telling you, bro. Motherfuckers is setting up operations on the down low, fool. Down low. Like, undercover operations going down.
Greenland itself is incredibly divisive. On the one hand, expanding Greenland's resource extraction industry could provide enormous amounts of money to the island nation, and finally secure their financial and legal independence from Denmark after centuries of colonial rule.
Writers with ADHD have improved focus thanks to this app.
Can I read faster than Speechify? Let's see. My turn. Chapter 1, The Sound of the Shell. The boy with fair hair lowered himself down the last few feet of rock and began to pick his way toward the lagoon. Though he had taken off his school sweater and trailed it now from—
The boy with the hair lowered himself down to the last few feet of the rock and began to pick his way toward the lagoon. Though he had taken off his school sweater, trailed it out with one hand, the great shirt okay,
one hand is—
While Greenland was granted home rule from Copenhagen more than 40 years ago, back in 1979, Denmark continues to fully administer the island's foreign policy and provides the Greenlandic government with an annual subsidy of around $600 million, which is about 60% of their entire annual government budget. Greenland's government is therefore still highly dependent financially on Denmark, and the revenues gained from mining and hydrocarbon extraction could dramatically change this and pave the way for full independence and sovereignty in the future. But on the other hand, there are many locals on the island who are very wary of foreign mining and energy companies coming and setting up their operations there. Operations that could potentially lead to things like pollution, contamination, and changing ways of the traditional Inuit lifestyles of the locals. And the world's greatest powers have already begun casting their long geopolitical gazes to this distant island that history always paid very little attention to until now. Chinese state-owned companies have already been attempting to invest in mining operations on the island, like at the Kavanafiel deposit, along with further offers to invest in air and maritime port infrastructure. What better way, after all, to continue securing their own global rare earth monopoly by buying up the assets or securing the trade relationships of what could potentially become the second greatest source of them in the world. And as the Arctic continues to warm up, the sea ice across it will melt to a point where, eventually, potentially as early as next decade, there won't be any sea ice at all during the summer months, which will open up a new trade route known as the Northern Sea Route through the northern waters of Russia. This inevitability will dramatically shorten the trading distance that cargo containers will have to travel between East Asia on the one side and Europe and North America over on the other. It will dramatically speed up trading times between the economies of Eastern Asia and the West by a significant order of magnitude, compared with contemporary trade routes between them through the Suez Canal or around the southern tip of Africa, and make the Russians a lot of money in the process as well via transiting fees. Sometime next decade—
All of that belongs to Russia? None of that belongs to Canada?
This is likely going to become one of the—
Or Sweden? Or this top country? Is that Sweden? Is that the northernmost one?
The biggest and most vital trade routes in the world, and it will also dramatically improve the accessibility of Greenland's vast hidden strategic resources. It is certainly for all of these reasons and the knowledge of how critically important Greenland will one day become to the global economy why the Trump administration in the United States floated around the idea of purchasing the island from Denmark back in 2019, and why Washington has been putting continuous pressure on Copenhagen to block the investments of all Chinese companies there. Since they still control Greenland's foreign policy, Denmark acquiesced to the American demands by canceling 2 Chinese construction bids for airports at Nuuk and Ilulissat, and they declined a Chinese offer to purchase an abandoned naval base on the island's south coast. However, they also firmly
the Chinese
reject.
are so smart, bro. This is so. How do they know? How do they know? What? So the people at the top are using the world's. Well, how does their internet work? Do they have access to this kind of information? Do they have access to the world's information? Don't they have a different internet and like they have different apps? Like they're not working on our internet. Like they're just not, unless you have a VPN or something. Like, foo. So like you're telling me their citizens? I don't think their citizens have the kind of information that the people at the top do they? Because these motherfuckers are smart. I'm not trying to say Chinese people aren't smart. I'm just saying, what kind of info are they allowing their people to see is what I'm saying. Because it seems like they do have their people under strict control, I feel. I would see it. Not like North Korea type level, but it's like, well, I mean, to be honest, we're not even too far off of China. Like, we're not even that different. Like, let's be real. Like, motherfuckers want to act like we're really free, but we're not really free. I mean, monopoly capitalism. Don't even get me started.
The American proposals to purchase the island outright. And it's not like the United States even has to purchase it anyway. They already operate a major airbase in the far north at Thule, whose primary purpose is to serve as an early warning system for potential ballistic missiles being fired at the US mainland from Russia. The greatest forces of the 21st century that are reshaping our entire world all, therefore, converge at Greenland. Rapid warming, melting, and sea level rise caused by global climate change. The increasing demand of technology companies for rare earth resources that are vital to power our modern society. And the emerging global geopolitical Cold War between the United States and China. There is vast wealth that has been hiding beneath Greenland for centuries. And it's only now that we've all begun to actually recognize it. But while Greenland may be rich in resources like hydrocarbons and rare earths, it will take a very long time for Greenland to ever be rich in another major resource: food. At the present, only 0.002% of Greenland's land is actually arable and suitable for agriculture, which means that nearly all of the island's food supply for the 56,000 people who live there today—
It's gonna have to be fish. Just fish, man. Just fish. And have it imported. Fuck it.
has to be imported from Denmark or from abroad. And since all of this food has to be imported, it's generally more expensive. And as you've almost certainly noticed, groceries pretty much everywhere have gotten a lot more expensive lately. But luckily for you, I know about a great solution: HelloFresh. If you're anything like me, you typically struggle a lot to decide what to do at
ad money, homie.
dinner time. Should I order expensive?
Get your ad money, homie. 16 mils? 16 free meals? Oh, yo, I'm in. Yeah, hold on a second. Claim offer. I'm not seeing the freeness. I'm not seeing it. So this is $23. But anyway, man, real life lore. What's hidden underneath the ice of Greenland? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys want me to react to next. Thoughts on it? I mean, shit. Did you guys know that Greenland had that much type shit hiding underneath the shits? Because that's a lot of shit. I remember being obsessed with Greenland back in middle school because of its massive size and mysteries. I was too. This video really brought back all of these years later, and thank you for making these, and congrats on 6 million subs. Shots out, real life lore. Yeah, I mean, I always, I do like the islands a little bit. I feel what he's saying, right? Like it's massive size. I always did see Greenland. I'm like, well, you know, Greenland, very interesting, very interesting, very interesting. Damn. Antarctica on this map is disgustingly. Antarctica is just cheating at this point, right? You see this, right? Like you see this? Okay, well, let me move it a little bit. Right, let me move it a little bit. My guy. It's actually huge. Like let's not make no mistake about it. Is it bigger than 14 million? I can't bring up Brazil. It's bigger than China. Bigger than China? Square miles? Yeah, it's bigger than China. But dude, it's fucking huge. It's actually really big. Let's put it next to Greenland. Let's see the kind of ice we're working with here. Jesus Christ. What the fuck? I can't even put it up there. It's so big. Pause. I mean, that's the best I got. Jesus. Yeah, Antarctica's pretty fucking big. I'm not gonna hide you. I wonder what's like. We've seen what's underneath Greenland. What do you think is hiding underneath Antarctica? Like, that's the real question, isn't it? Maybe it's just not that it's hiding. Maybe it's just that people already do know. I don't think it's really hiding. This tail. This bothers me about this map. This really bothers me real quick. Look at that. It bothers me. Anyway, man. I'm gonna see ya. Yep.